Coming up this week on the center of it all. Sexual harassment allegations are everywhere the last few months. We went to talk to the Centre County for Women's Resource Center to see what it means for them and this community. And snow season is upon us. We went to see how you can help keep the roads clear for snow plows. Mel is cooking in the kitchen, and our pet of the show needs your help in finding a home. Don't go anywhere, it's all coming up next right here on the center of it all. Good morning, welcome to the center of it all. We are at the Centre County Women's Resource Center in State College here with Jordan, Gibby, and Ann Ard. Thank you so much for being with us here this morning.
You're welcome.
Thanks for being here.
So a little bit of a serious kind of sensitive topic. So with the Me Too and Time's Up movements and everything going on happening there, how does that kind of affect you guys here at the center?
Well, you know, our job is to provide services for victims of sexual and domestic violence, dating violence, and stalking. And so we provide a full range of services for people who've experienced those things. So people who've experienced sexual harassment or sexual violence of any kind, they can come here and they can find the support and the services that they need. So actually, we think the Me Too movement and Time's Up movements are really a great opportunity to spread the word that sexual violence does happen in our communities and that there are resources available.
And despite your name, you just have women's in your name, but you also have services for men, is that correct?
We provide services to anyone who's experienced, as Ann said, domestic, dating, or sexual violence or stalking. So our name comes from our history. We were started by women in the community who came together and bonded over this idea of helping each other overcome the violence in their lives. And still statistically there's a huge number of women, the numbers are higher for women who experience those types of violence, but we recognize that it can happen to anyone, and we want to be that resource for anyone in the community who's experiencing violence.
Why do you think there's a little bit of kind of a negative view on male sexual abuse?
I think a lot of people don't really believe that it exists, and I think for a long time we didn't know that it existed. I think one of the things that the Sandusky scandal showed everybody in our community and in central Pennsylvania and really around the world is that male sexual abuse happens. It happens to kids, it happens to adults, and we need to talk about it, and we need to be sure that we're offering services for men who've experienced sexual abuse, either as children or as adults.
How do you guys kind of hope to change the view of male sexual abuse here?
Well, that's really what we're doing in these coming events that we have, is just trying to do a targeted effort to help people in our community know, and especially those male victims in our community know, that there is a place to go for services, that there are support groups, counseling, all sorts of things that we can provide to help them in their recovery, that they're not alone, that it happens to other men too, and that there are resources that we can provide to help.
So you have some upcoming workshops here and in the surrounding communities. Can you tell me a little bit about what you guys have planned and what is coming up here the month of February?
So we have 2 events coming up soon. We've had 2 in State College and Millheim, and then we're hitting a couple other places in the county now. We'll be at Bellefonte on February 15th at 6 in the evening at the Centre County Library, and then on the 17th, we'll be in Phillipsburg at the Holt Memorial Library at 11:30 in the morning on a Saturday. So these events are opportunities to raise awareness around male sexual abuse and to tell those stories. So the event is going to follow kind of the sequence of, we'll have a video screening and art display from the Bristlecone Project, which is a campaign of the national organization 1 in 6. And it's telling the stories of real men who have experienced unwanted sexual experiences in their lives, followed by a description of the services that we provide and a panel discussion with survivors who will be there live to speak about their experiences, as well as some local human service professionals.
Wow, so kind of what made you guys want to do these workshops and kind of focus on this particular topic?
Part of what we've discovered over time is that it's difficult sometimes for men who are survivors to reach out for help, to come for services. And so part of the beauty of these particular workshops and events is that we're taking them to the community. We're getting out of our building, we're going to the community, we're going to where people live. They're in libraries so that people can really come, and people can engage in ways that they're comfortable with. They can come in and just simply look at the displays, watch the video, go home. They can come in, look at the displays, watch the video, listen to the panel, not say anything. They can come in and do all of that and interact with the panelists. So we really wanted to create a space that was as comfortable and as easy for people to access as possible, because we know it's hard.
Well, Jordan Ann, thank you so much for taking the time and speaking with us today. We really appreciate it.
You're really welcome. Thanks for being here.
We're going to take a short break. The Center of It All will be right back after this. Welcome back. The snow has started to fall, and that means snowplows are now working round the clock to keep roads clear. We went to talk to them to see what just a few little changes can do to help make their job a whole lot easier. Snow, ice, sleet, it all affects driving conditions, and where there's snow plows. But how deep does the snow have to get before roads begin to be cleared? How long does it take? When is salt used? These answers all depend on one thing: temperature.
If temperatures are going to drop and we got an inch out there and we know it's going to freeze fast, we'll plow with an inch of snow.
Temperature also affects how much salt is laid down. A denser snowfall won't melt as quickly, so roads may need more than one round of salt application. Salt is used to keep snow from bonding to the road surface, making it easier to plow.
Salt works best in higher temperatures, so that area of 28 degrees to 32 degrees, salt's going to work real well.
And if temperatures get below 21 degrees, that's when they use a calcium chloride salt mixture. But laying down salt isn't always the go-to solution.
We adopted a policy here a couple of years ago where we plow more and salt less.
But that doesn't mean they aren't prepared. They are, with 600 tons of salt ready and on hand at all times. A normal winter, they can use as much as 1,000 tons with an average use of 50 to 100 tons per snowfall. But trying to plow and salt the roads while keeping up with snowfall isn't their only challenge, especially here in State College.
The home of Penn State campus, you know, there's 42,000 students on campus, so not only do we have vehicular traffic to deal with, the crews have pedestrians that they have to deal with on a daily basis. So when you're sitting in the seat of one of those trucks, it's very demanding and can be stressful, particularly in the downtown grid areas.
Stressful with long hours. The days are split into two 12-hour shifts. There's the salt crew and plow crew, each with about 10 to 12 guys.
It can be a hectic, long, busy day.
But what can you do to help make plowing and salting easier? Well, they had a few tips.
Keeping their vehicles off the streets helps snow removal process, speeds that along, and we don't have to backtrack. You know, residents themselves, you know, if they're standing on the street looking at their house when they shovel their driveway, plow the snow to the left side of the driveway. So when the snow plow comes down the street, it plows the snow away and it doesn't push it back in their driveway. They can help themselves that way. People, they just want to clear their sidewalks and their driveways and get on with their life, and they don't realize, you know, they'll blow the snow back out in the streets. And oftentimes, you know, if temperatures drop after the sun goes down, then that refreezes and can create unsafe conditions for the traveling public.
Safety is their #1 priority. They want to get roads clear and salted as quickly and effectively as possible. If they had a say, they know exactly when they'd like the snow to fall.
Snowfall, if we had to choose when the snow came, it would be from 9 o'clock at night till 1 in the morning, and then typically our crews can have most of the streets plowed one time in 6 hours.
But since Mother Nature has a mind all her own, they must keep an eye on the weather so that they can let the community know when a storm may be approaching.
In State College, we have designated snow removal zones, and once the snowfall reaches 3 inches and we declare a snow emergency, then residents have to remove their vehicles from the streets until the snow's plowed back to the curbs. If it's something that we know is coming and it's going to be a big storm, then we'll put the notice out ahead of time so people can get their vehicles off the street.
When we come back, we see what Mel is cooking up in the kitchen for this chilly Sunday. Welcome back to the Center of It All. Chili for these chilly winter days and mac and cheese. This week, Mel is mixing them together. Let's take a look.
As a mother of 3 grown boys, I know a thing or two about making chili and macaroni and cheese. I know I made a lot of both for a lot of years and often. I also know my boys loved it when I made both and mixed them together. Join me right here at the stovetop today while I show you how to make my kid-tested, mother-approved chili mac. Chili mac arrived in the American marketplace in the form of hamburger helper in 1971. It was really popular, but the thought of a box of dried pasta, powdered sauce mix, and seasonings didn't really excite me or my family. That said, my boys loved Wendy's chili and Kraft macaroni and cheese. So I simply set out to make my own copycat versions of both. And to this day, I wouldn't change a thing. I've got about 2.5 pounds of really lean ground beef. I'm using 90-10 in a wide bottom 4-quart stock pot. And I'm going to season it with about a teaspoon of salt, a teaspoon of black pepper, and 2 teaspoons of garlic powder. I'm going to add about a cup and a half of chopped onion, the same of green bell pepper, and the same a cup and a half of red bell pepper. If you don't like any one of these things, just make up the difference with something else. Like you could put extra onion and skip bell peppers, whatever you like to do. I'm going to put this on medium-high heat, and I'm going to keep stirring it around, and I'm going to saute this for about 15 minutes till the meat is cooked through, the vegetables are cooked through. It's reduced in volume by about a half, and there's almost no liquid left in the bottom of the pan. It's been about 20 minutes. Everything is cooked through. Camera, I don't know if you can get in here, there's almost no liquid left in the bottom of the pan, which is exactly what we want. So now I'm going to add a few more spices into this mix. And I'm going with Mexican oregano, cumin, more black pepper, and Mexican chili powder. I'm going to give that a really good stir. And now we're going to add our tomatoey ingredients. I'm using a 14.5-ounce can of plain tomato sauce, a 14.5-ounce can of undrained diced tomatoes, because I like some chunky tomatoes in there. And thanks to the genius of our middle son, he asked me to start adding a jar of his favorite Tostitos salsa. And that's just full of all sorts of good flavor. So we'll get this simmering, get it stirred in really good to get all the spices in through all the tomatoey stuff. And now our beans. And I like a lot of them. You can add a smaller can if you want. I like red kidney beans. So I'm just going to add, and these are well drained. You don't want to add any more juice to this. That is perfect. Oh, a couple more. All right, here we go. I'll stir all of these in. And I'm going to let this simmer for about 30 to 35 minutes. And I am going to tell you that this is going to make 4 quarts of chili. And what I do when I'm making chili mac is I freeze 3 quarts and I use 1 quart to stir in to my macaroni and cheese mixture. While my chili was simmering on the back of the stove, I took a couple of minutes to cook and drain a pound of pasta. And please use tubular pasta, penne, anything that's got tubes in it. I use some pretty little cavatelli today because I like these spirals. I think they're kind of cute. And after I drained it, I tossed it with 4 ounces of butter. That's 4 tablespoons of butter, and I added 2 teaspoons of garlic powder to it. In the meantime, in my microwave, I melted 1 jar of Cheese Whiz. Yes, Kraft Cheese Whiz, in my opinion, makes the best imitation or copycat recipe of Kraft macaroni and cheese. As I was just telling Adam, my camera guy today, 1 pound of pasta, 4 ounces of butter, 2 teaspoons of garlic powder, and a jar of Cheese Whiz. Best copycat Kraft macaroni and cheese. Okay, that's all in there. Turn this down because I just want it on real low heat. Let's just melt this in into the still warm pasta. Won't take very long. Well, and one of the reasons you don't add any salt to any of this is because your Cheese Whiz is really going to make this it's going to salt the pasta plenty. Now, in case you don't believe me, you have to just at some point take a taste. Oh yeah. Okay, now comes the fun part. We're going to stir in 1 quart of chili. This is 1 quart, which I've measured out, hot off the stove. Let's get this all stirred in. And it is time to head over to the counter and serve our chili mac. Take a tip from a well-seasoned mom and grandmother like me. Cooking for kids is never easy, but it can be fun. Knowing how to cook a few uncomplicated recipes that they like, using a little bit of meat, some fresh chopped vegetables, and a few pantry ingredients goes a long way, and it's a smart way to show your kids that eating at the kitchen counter is a lot better than spending time at the takeout counter. For these and all of my recipes, just go to my website.
Make it in bulk and freeze some for later, it still tastes just as good. When we come back, Nittany Beagle Rescue has our pet of the show. Welcome back. This week, our pet of the show loves her toys and she needs your help in finding a new family to share them with. Let's meet Nancy Ann.
Thanks, Alicia. I'm here with Nancy Ann. She's a 7-year-old beagle from Nittany Beagle Rescue. She's currently at a boarding kennel, so she would love a foster or an adoption. She's been good with kids when we've had her at the Petco showings. She's great with people. She really loves attention. She loves people. She is, as you can see, a little bit overweight, but that's just she was abused as a pup there, and so now she tends to overeat. But we have her on a diet, and she's pretty active, so I think if she got into a foster home and had the chance to get regular walking and someone to really keep an eye on her diet and everything, she would lose weight pretty fast. I've had her in the car, and she's pretty good, especially if you give her a toy, something to distract her. She'll just sit there and chew her toy. She is very food responsive, so I think she'd be easy to train if you wanted to train her a little. She's good with kids, she's good with people. She's okay with smaller dogs, but she gets intimidated with large dogs. And because of her treatment when she was younger, she is possessive of food and toys, so you have to be careful with her around other dogs if she has a toy or if she's eating or with treats.
For more information, visit NittanyBeagleRescue.org. That wraps up this week's show. Thanks so much for joining me. Be sure to check in next week for a special cooking edition of The Center of It All. Until then, I'm Alicia Facer. I'll see you next time.